Allah. Careful. Okay, bismillah. Wow. So far, if you're watching this, please, I need you again next time. Right. So, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hamidun Majid. Guys, thank you for coming. Sorry about the computer. Sorry about the technical man. Safan's not here today, so you lost me. Before I start anything, I would like to just point one thing out. Is any mistakes I make, I do apologise. I'm not mufti. I'm not a sheikh. I'm not alim. I'm just just an individual that I love stories and I love talking about stories, and I feel like the stories have had an impact on my life, and I'm sure these stories will eventually, or somehow, somewhere, will have an impact on all our lives, because there's lessons to be learned from these stories. So if I do make any mistakes, I'm sorry. We all make mistakes, inshallah, and hopefully we can, hopefully I don't make any mistakes. Now today, we're gonna take it to Prophet Ibrahim. Now Prophet Ibrahim was one of the most significant figures that we have had, and all the Abrahamic religions came, that's what the reason why they call it Abrahamic religion: Judaism, Christianity, Islam, so on. And Prophet Ibrahim had such a high significance in Islam that the part of Hajj and part of Mecca and so on is actually dedicated, and to him, for example, Maqam Ibrahim, Safa and Marwa, that came in his time, and the building of the Kaaba and so on. So his significance was huge. At the same time, Allah called him, we call him Ibrahim Khalilullah. So when we say the word Khalil, he's a friend, a beloved friend to Allah. And also there's another narration where the Prophet ﷺ went for Isra and Mi'raj. He saw Prophet Ibrahim on the 7th heaven. Now the seventh heaven is the closest one to Allah, and Allah gave him such a blessing that all the prophets and messengers that came after Ibrahim came from his descendant. All of them came from his descendant. Ismail, Ishaq, Musa, Isa, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on. They all basically came from his descendant. Now, before we touch on that one, I always like to give different reminders every single week. And this week's reminder, what I want to touch on is what's in terms of life, in our communities, we all want to serve our communities. We all want to help our communities. We all want to do good for our communities and for our people. And we all get lost in how we want to do this good, and what's the best way of doing good for the people. And best example that I personally found myself was, and I say this every single week, and the reason why I say Sahabi, not a prophet, is because we're going to go through the prophet lives eventually. Sahabi, and it's the same Sahabi again, for those that were here last time. It's Umar ibn Khattab. Now Umar ibn Khattab, through his life, he had different stages before. Sorry. It's okay, sit down. I'll sort it out for you in a minute. Sorry. So Umar ibn Khattab, through his life, he went through different stages. Everyone looks at Umar ibn Khattab as, he's a very notorious person. He's very, very strong, and he's very tough. That it came to a story where one time a lady and her son were traveling out, and they said, what we'll do is we'll break into two stages. They were going to go for hijrah, and he hid behind the mountain, and she said, I'll meet you there. And in the process, he's gone, and she met Umar Khattab, and she got scared. She said, shall I lie to him? Shall I not lie to him? So she said, I'm going to tell him the truth where I'm going. And she told him that I'm going for hijrah and so on. And he said, may Allah be with you. And then she was shocked. She was like, this guy's saying, Allah be with me. Like, I'm talking Umar Khattab. And then she went back to her son, and her son couldn't believe it. He said, there's more chances of something, I can't remember the hadith, then something happening, than him becoming a Muslim. Like, that's how much Umar Khattab was far, and he came into the deen. And there was a time when he was a Khalifa, and this is such a beautiful story. And I tell you, servant leader. Like, there's different kind of leadership. And this guy, wallahi, there's nobody that can define being a servant leader, obviously apart from the Prophet ﷺ, after the Prophet ﷺ, but this Sahabi. There was a time when he used to patrol. Imagine, he used to patrol the area at night time by himself. He used to just go for, I call it, he used to go for walkies. Used to just, just in the dark, we get scared, we see a fox, we're like, oh, what's that, right? But this guy used to get about at night time, and one time he heard a baby crying, yeah, which he thought, why is this baby crying? So he knocked on the door. He said, oh lady, he said, why is your baby crying? She said, oh, you know what? I'm struggling. I have no money, and she started complaining to him. He said, okay. He said, okay, what? Tell me. Let me come in. Let me look at his situation. He walked in. He seen her. There's a pot of water and there's rocks, and she was just staring. She goes, I was staring this until my kid fell asleep. He goes, but why have you not asked for help? Why have you not done any of this? She said to him, she said, Ma Khalifa, it's a Khalifa. She didn't know that he was a Khalifa, by the way, because that's how humble this guy was. He said to her, what situation? He said, Ma Khalifa's forgot us. Ma Khalifa has forgot us. So what did he do? Now think about this, Now I'm going to give you two sides of the world, Now I'm going to give you two sides of the world, This day and age, before I tell you a story, if you think about what would you have done in this situation, you would have rang up your boy and said, yo bro, listen, you got any burgers? You'll just drop the burgers off to this lady because she needs food. Am I right? Yeah? Or bro, have you got this out? Or listen, I'm going to check my mum, she's got any leftover food. That's the reality. Just the reality. Normally that's how we think. That's how our mind thinks, because that's how we're programmed to think. Now, what did he do? He went and got, I think it was a goat, or a cow or a sheep, whatever it might be. He slaughtered it and he cooked it for her. He went and he did it himself. He cooked it for her and he left. He didn't turn around and say, remember me? Remember who did this for you? Yeah? Now look at the mindset. Yeah? Because why? Because he didn't do it for the people. He didn't do it for the people where, start taking pictures. I'm going Hajj tomorrow, I'm going Umrah tomorrow, I'm going to make sure I take pictures to let you guys all go to Umrah. Or, I'm feeding the poor, so I'm going to take pictures of the poor just to let you know that I fed the poor. Or so on. He didn't do none of that. He didn't say to her, listen, remember, I'm the Khalifa, by the way. Just in case you didn't know, I am the Khalifa, so I'll never say anything about the Khalifa. He didn't say that. He made the food, he cooked it, he left it all, and he said, Assalamu alaikum, and he left. Now, think about that, And one thing that I learned from that is, there's leadership, yes, we lead, we look after our family, we look after our parents, we look after our friends and so on. But there's one thing for sure is, when it comes to serving your people, our community, our people, we don't do that. We don't serve the people how they are supposed to be served. We serve the people based on how we think everything should be served. Does that make sense? So sometimes we might see an old lady, you're driving, right? You see an old lady, she's struggling with her shopping. How many people sit there and say, you know what, one sec, I'm going to help her. We don't have that. So we're not really serving the people the way it should be served. But at the same time, we think, you know what, my cousin, he needs help, I'll help. But the thing is, when you're serving the people, it doesn't matter if they're your family, they're your friends, they're Muslim, non-Muslim. When you're serving the people, you serve the people. You serve your neighbours, you serve and so on. So that's a message that I just wanted to get out there. And hopefully, especially in this time now when it's cold, in Old Trafford especially, we have a lot of elderly people. We're an over-aged population in the UK in general. Now, having said that, how many of us actually concentrate on looking after our elders? Not just our elders, just looking after the elders in general. Because, they'll teach you lessons that nobody else can learn. No, nobody else can teach you, sorry. They've lived there. They lived 70, 80 years. Oh, I'm 33 now. They lived double my life. So they've seen a lot more than what I've seen. They've seen a lot more than what all of us have seen. And the only way we can gain that experience and learn from them is by being there when they need us, for them to tell us their experience for us to learn. And that's the message. So back to the main story, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, he was mentioned 73 times in the Quran, in 25 surahs. He even has a surah named after him, Surah Ibrahim. He was born in Babylon, which is in Iraq, which is modern day Iraq now. Second highest status, and as I mentioned to you guys, it was the one Prophet ﷺ went for Isra and Mi'raj. He found it on the seventh heaven, and all the prophets came after him and the descendants. And he is the father of the Arabs and the Jews, because he had Ismail, Ishaq, and so on. And then that will come. I'll explain that to you through time. He built the Kaaba. There's one thing about Prophet Ibrahim that is miraculous, that is so beautiful, that he doesn't have one specific. A lot of prophets that we went through, they have one specific story, and Allah came and Allah sent the wind or the noise or the flood and so on. Prophet Ibrahim has so many stories in his life. He come from stage one. He lived roughly about 187 years, between 180 to 190 years. But in that period, he was tested so many times that each test has a different story, subhanAllah. But each test, it will show you that he was very intellectual. He was very good with his word, the way he uses his words and the things he say, subhanAllah. And he had no followers, by the way. Through his life, he had no followers, not many followers. His first follower was his nephew, which was Lut, and his second follower was his wife, Sarah. Them two. But as we go on, I'll explain. We'll have a look at it and so on. So Ibrahim's father was called Azar, as mentioned in the Quran. Now he had a specific job in his community. His job was he used to create idols. That was his job. That was his business. He used to carve it. He used to have a warehouse. Now imagine it's just the way. Sorry, you're right. Okay. Yeah. He used to carve idols. He was an idol dealer. He was a big boy back then. He used to make all the money through the idols. Like people used to come to him. They used to want small idols, big nose idols, big ear idols, and so on. And each one had its own, specific thing. Like for example, if they had big ears, that means they can hear more. They can hear far. If they had big eyes, that means they can see what the human don't see, and so on. So a lot of it. So he was a very idol. Idol dealer. And also, what they also believed in idols, because this is a whole different level now, they believe that these idols bring you good luck. Now in Islam, we don't really believe in good luck. Why? Because we believe that everything belongs to Allah and comes from Allah. So if you want anything, who do you go to? You go to Allah. You don't go to just because. I'll give you an example. We see this in our culture quite a lot, which is just amazing, right? Saying this. We got in our culture where if somebody sat under the tree and found some luck, something happened to him under that tree, they'll say, that tree brings me luck, let's go and sit. And then he'll tell his people, and then a lot of people are going to start sitting under that tree, for example. We see that. Or we got that lucky coin where you carry with you, or, the lucky trainers for footballers, or lucky so on. Why? Because it did something for you at that moment, by chance, but then you take it on and it becomes like a worship. Does that make sense? And sometimes we need to understand, when things like that happen, you have to take a step back. Why? Because Allah is testing you that single moment. He's giving you something through something other means than Allah to see how you react. And if you carry that on, you need to be careful. Now, that's where your test starts. Like I'll give you a perfect example, right? I wear some football boots, yeah. I'm absolutely not scoring. Then I go and wear some ripped football boots with no front, no back, no nothing, looking like socks, and I go score bang 5 goals. Yeah. So automatically I think, that's bringing me luck. I need to go that. Now that's where the line kind of draws, because you believe in something else. Now Allah does test us in many ways, and that's all. So just be careful. If you do ever get tested in that way, just always remember that we don't, as a Muslim, we don't believe in luck. We believe in qadr, and that everything happens from Allah. And if something happens in that way, we need to hold back and remember why it's happened. And because Shaitan plays his games, and I say this every single week. He's been around for 10,000, 20,000. Allahu A'lam how many years he's been around. He's been around. So your experience compared to his is nothing. This guy has gone through all the prophets. This guy has gone through all the Sahabas. He's gone through all the Tabi'een, and he's gone through everyone you can think of. Everyone that we read through history, he's gone through them. So he knows the experience. So if you think you can trick Shaitan, wallahi, believe me, you're tricking yourself. Right? So, like I said, they came in different sizes. Some have big ears, so they hear better. And one thing they used to do, which is quite interesting, right? Considering civilization, we think we are advanced as civilization, but when you start reading these stories, you realize we're actually not, right? So what they used to do, they used to borrow each other. So if one had an idol, a big idol, that's worth say £10,000, right? And the other one had an idol that's worth £1,000. Right? He can't afford a £10,000, but this idol does something for him, for this person that he wants. Maybe cures a certain disease or cures a certain illness. If you would go to this person and say, right, your 10,000 idol, can I borrow it for a day? So then he used to say to the person, yeah, give me £500 and you can borrow it for a day. So now they used to trade. They used to borrow each other's idols, right? And they used to give each other, they used to basically lend idols of each other. So it was a huge business back then. Now imagine a prophet's going to come and tell you that what your business is not good. We see this in our community now, someone that, whatever they do, right? And when they get a bit of advice and someone says to them, what you're doing there is haram, They start saying, oh, no, this is my bread and butter. I got to make the money. I'm not leaving this. Why? Because now you need to understand this happened during Prophet Ibrahim's time, and he came out to the people and he gave them advice, and they didn't follow. Why? Because it was affecting their pockets. Now imagine, that's the exact same scenario as someone that's making haram money, and he's getting advice. Someone saying to him that what you're doing there is haram, and he's saying, no, it's going to affect my pocket. So what's the difference between you and them? Sometimes you got to look at that, because there is in the وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ, and in the heavens and the skies is your rizq. So why are you worried? Why are you worried of sustenance? Why are you worried of this? So this is what the people were worried about. They were thinking, these idols are making, here's that for you, this guy doesn't make him eat. I'm making money. Yeah? Why am I going to give all this up? Right, just for what you're saying. So what he did, he said, indeed, we have granted Abraham. So Allah says, this in the Quran, he says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ الرُّشْدَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. And indeed, we have granted Ibrahim, sound judgment early on, for we knew him well to be worthy of it. So, Prophet Ibrahim, it is said in a hadith that he was eloquent and he was wary of his dad's wrongdoings from as early as 7 years old. At 7 years old now, imagine that. Yeah, my son's here, he's 6. From roughly about his age, he was wary. He was giving his dad advice, saying, Dad, why are you doing this? But can you give me about what, please? Sorry. Yeah. I'm getting, talking too much. Yeah, so from as early as 7 years old. Nowadays, you look at 7 years old and you think, yeah, I don't know that. I don't how. Thank you. Yeah. So nowadays, when you look at a 7-year-old, you think, he's just a baby. He was advising his dad from as early as 7 years old. Now, what does that tell us? Nowadays, if your son, as a father, if my son came and said to me, Baba, what you're doing there is wrong, I look at him and say, who are you to tell me? Yeah, who are you to tell me I'm wrong? I raised you, or I'm raising you. I'm your dad. Yeah. But here we go. Here's the thing. The crazy, the mind-boggling thing here is, they could be right, because their mind's very innocent. We never think about it. My son could be right, and sometimes even if his son's right, he's wrong. Even if you're right, you're wrong. SubhanAllah. So the reality of it, your son, because of his fitrah, yeah, because he's not seen what we've seen, and his mind's not as, I don't want to say the word damaged, right? But he's not seen what we've seen, basically, right? So he's very innocent-minded. You might say something, or say something, and he'll be like, Baba, that's haram. And then it's a reality check. And as Muslims, if someone does that, whether it's your son, whether it's your cousin, whether it's nephew, if it makes sense and it's right, we have to be accountable for it, because Allah tests us through our children. And if you say to your son, if my son said, oh, Baba, you're wrong, so on, make sure you don't do this. Yeah, Baba, you're wrong, or something. And I said to him, what do you know? That's arrogant. That's me being arrogant. And how can I teach my son to fix what's right if I can't accept what's wrong? Does that make sense? So if my son's right, as Muslims, we have to accept it. If I reject and say to him, no son, you go away, you're wrong, then how is he's not going to have the confidence to come again and tell me again. So we need to, may Allah give us tawfiq and give us acceptance, the fact that sometimes we could be corrected by our kids, and that's just how it is. So Allah gave Ibrahim alayhi salam, he gave him that noble power to be able to, correct his father. But his dad was too arrogant. He was like, I'm not having this. You, no chance. That's what he's thinking. So Allah says, because remember when he questioned his father and his people, he questions them, because what are these statues which you are so devoted in? Like, why are you, like, what are they? And they replied, and look at this. SubhanAllah, we see this today in our community, not just in, with the prophets. We see in our community. What we see is what is one thing that you always say. If they have no knowledge of something, they say, yeah, but my dad used to do that. Or my forefathers, or my ancestors, or so on, they used to do that. And they said the same thing. Yeah, we don't know what this is, but my grandparent used to do it, so therefore I'm gonna carry on doing it. So it becomes like a cult. It becomes like a culture. We carry on, and we see that in today. A lot of people don't know a lot of the answers. A lot of people are just followers. And in Islam, what does Islam teach us is, yes, if you see something and you're gonna follow something, make sure there's evidence and you know what you're following, why you're following. Don't just don't just follow blindly, because the blind leads the blind. If you're gonna follow blindly, then how do you know it's the right thing? How do you know what they're doing is right? How do you know what they're saying is right? Make sure you understand everything, and that's what Islam teaches us. So Ibrahim replied to him and said, you know, these statues, can they hear you when you call them? You know, they got big ears. Can they hear you? You know, when you call out to them, do they listen to you? Can they hear you? Or can they like benefit you when they harm you? So what he started doing, he started bringing out the qualities of a person that should be, you know, a person that should be worshipped. So what he's done, he's asking them, because you know these are the qualities of Allah. Allah can hear you when you call out to him. You know, in whatever situation you are, you're in salah, you know, even when you're sleeping, oh Allah, please, I don't want to sleep anymore, and so on. Like in every single situation, you call out to Allah, Allah can hear you. Yeah? So he started bringing his qualities, saying, yeah, these are my Lord's qualities, but are they your qualities? So he said, did they benefit you, or can they benefit you, or harm you? Like, can they do any of that? And they replied, no. Like literally, they turned around and said, you know, what you're asking there is pretty much makes sense, but the answer to that is no. That can't happen, right? But we found our forefathers, they were doing it as well. Now imagine that. The answer to them is basically saying, Ibrahim, you're right, but our forefathers used to do it, so therefore it's just a culture thing. It's just easy for us to carry on doing it. And you're going to hurt our pockets. Why? Because we're all making money off this, right? So then Ibrahim replied, have you really considered what you have been worshipping? Now, I want you guys to understand, Ibrahim, look at the way he questions. He doesn't get angry. He don't start throwing stuff at them, or he don't start getting into fights or getting very aggressive. You can tell he's very calm. He goes, but okay, if your forefathers have you know followed, you're just following what your forefathers have followed. Have you considered, or have you looked at what you are worshipping? Like, take a second, so it's more of a reflection. Let's reflect. And when it comes to questioning people, or questioning, you know, you'll find the best way of questioning people and understanding people by what? By making them reflect. So that's what he was doing. He was trying to make them reflect. And then he goes, you and your ancestors, have you guys ever thought about that? He goes, and then he turned around and he goes, listen, right? The fact that you guys have not reflected, I just want to have to tell you one thing. That all of this that you are worshipping, the enemy is to me. Because the enemy is to me, the reason why is because I worship Allah. And I don't associate partners with Allah at all. And that's the reality of it. So when you look at the prophets and you look at the messengers and so on, one thing they do or say is do not, whatever happens, associate partners with anyone other than Allah. He is the one that should be worshipped solely. And if you look at all the nations that prophets have been sent to, majority of them, if not all of them, have been sent to nations that have had partners other than Allah, that have looked at other than Allah, that are worshipped with the people, they worship, you know, some of them worship all sorts, and that's where it comes down to it. And then he mentions, Allah says in the Quran, Prophet, Prophet Ibrahim was one thing for sure, is he was a man of truth, and he was a man of prophet. So times got harder for him. So his dad wasn't having it. His dad was saying, listen, Ibrahim, you know, you're causing me problems with my people, you're hitting my pockets, you know, I'm going to go broke, how am I going to feed you, how am I going to do this, and what? And Ibrahim kept saying to him, but Allah's a sustainer, why are you worried about something that you've gone and created, and he's selling to this person, and he gets passed around the whole area, and then it starts, you know, you're all making money for it. You go, you know, when I've come to you with a message, and I have certainly received some knowledge which you have not received. So please just follow me, and I will guide you to the straight path. You go, just follow me, give me a chance. That's what he asked him. He said to him, Father, please, just give me one chance, and then let's see where this takes us. And then we'll see let's have a look. So, but his dad rejected it due to business, due to making money. He was like, no, sorry, son. No, I can't take this because it's hurting my pockets. Now back to the point where it's hurting my pockets. It's such a valid point that we sometimes as Muslims, we don't realize that the barakah doesn't come from ourselves. The barakah doesn't come from anything. The barakah comes from Allah. So when we think about money, we sometimes sell ourselves. We without realizing, not in a bad way, but we sell ourselves just so we can make money because we've got kids, we've got a family to feed. And I can tell you, wallahi, there's so many stories. I'll tell you the story of this person, right? This person very close. I know him personally. Yeah, this person was getting married. For all brothers that want to get married, right? So this person was getting married. Wallahi, this is actually a true story, right? And I witnessed this myself. This person was getting married. Now, he had August month 8, right? 8th month. 8 months, yeah. He had 8 months to save money to get married. Yeah. He goes to me, he goes, by the time I decided to get married, I said I'm gonna do it. I've got 8 months. Now in 8 months he had to make like 25,000-30,000 pounds for a wedding, whatever it might be. Because listen, in our culture, weddings are very expensive. Yeah. Just the hall itself it would probably cost you an arm and a leg, and then you got to get the cars, and you got to get the jewelry, and you got to get your suit, she's got to get hair, clothes, whatever. Like, forget that anyway. But so that's the process. So he was going through it, right? He goes to me, he goes, bro, I got to a point where I actually believed that this wedding's not going to happen, and I was considering doing making haram money just to cover my wedding. I go, yeah, but I never thought about that. There's going to be no barakah in it. He goes, yes, and that's why I stopped. I said, so what happened? So we might look at this, right? Subhanallah, yeah. He goes, it was Ramadan. So Ramadan is come through. He goes, I got to a point where I was struggling. I did not know where to make this money from. So I put my trust in Allah. My yaqeen, I just said, Allah, I'm going to leave it in your hands. I'm doing this for you. Please find a way and make it happen. He goes, the last 10 days I went and did i'tikaf. Right? Yeah, and I was with him. I was with him. Last 10 days he was doing i'tikaf with me. And he was telling me this. I was like, listen, you know what, you got to believe. Don't worry about it. And we were young then. I was like, bro, listen, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. We'll sort it out. Bro, 2 days later, he comes to me crying. And I said to him, what's up, bro? He goes, there's £8,000 in my account. I don't know where it's come from. Wallahi al-Azim, I'll never forget this day. He said, there's £8,000 in my account and I don't know where it's come from. He goes, and I was short £8,000 just to pay for my wedding. Imagine that. This is someone that when you put your yaqeen in Allah, Allah will find a way. When you doubt Him, and when you doubt His power and His capability, you won't see anything. You can't doubt. You have to have full yaqeen that Allah, I'm doing this for you. I'm going to put it in your hands. It's this to you. So please find a way for me. And the prophets, we listen to the prophets and the Malaika, and the Sahabas and the messengers. And one thing they all have in common is what? Is when they go for it, the whole mind, heart and soul is in that moment. And then the taslim, they give it and they hand it over to Allah and say, Allah, please deal with it. And they rest. And every single time, the same outcome. It's the outcome that they were looking for. It might be not now, but eventually it will happen. And there's so many stories. Wallahi, there's so many stories where you put your trust into Allah. Allah does not let, there's one wa'ad Allah gave us. He does not let you down. SubhanAllah. He does not let you down. And in reality, and the story of Ibrahim makes us realize that when we want something, always remember this. Why do we go to the creation when the creator is waiting for us to go to him? And that's what Ibrahim's teaching his people, saying, just go to the creator and then you'll find everything. No problem. But they rejected the message and they said, you know what, Ibrahim, I've had enough, right? And there's one thing he said, right? He said to his dad, he goes, oh dear father, I truly fear that you'll be touched by a torment of the most compassionate. He goes, I'm scared that the most compassionate will punish you. Like, think about it for 1 second. He didn't say, I'm thinking about the most, like, the punisher to punish you or anything. He said the most compassionate. Rahmah. Like, he wants to forgive you, but why are you not doing this? See the way, see the word, how he uses his words. So he went on, and then he kind of started talking about the attributes of Allah. الذي خلقني فهو يهدين. He's the one who created me, and he alone he guides me, and he's the one who provides me with food and drink, and he alone heals me when I'm sick, and he's the one who will cause me to die, and then bring me back to life. And he's the one who I hope will forgive my flaws on Judgment Day. See how he said, I hope? Because it's all in the hands of Allah. We do what we can in every single way possible, but then Allah's the one that forgives us for everything. And the Prophet Ibrahim says it. He goes, Rabbi habli hukman. So bless me with honorable mentions amongst later generation. Now see this dua here. Yeah. The significance of this dua lies till today. Till today, we are seeing this one. What did he say? He goes, bless me with honorable mention among later generations. Till today, right now, we're sat here talking about who? We're talking about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Him asking us to talk about him as an honorable mention till today. Why? Because he's put his trust. And Allah said, Allah, just do that. Allah said, no, said okay. Right, okay. So, time carried on. One thing he kept doing is he just kept questioning over and over and over and over again. All he kept saying was, our forefathers, our forefathers, our forefathers. Then one day, the story goes on. So one day, they have a weekly ritual where they go out and they take their statues, like that, and just walk around, go out, and they do like ibadah for the day outside the city weekly, and then they come back. So he said to himself, but Allah, I will surely plot against your idols after you have turned your backs and gone away. So he said that. So some people heard it in the area. They're like, Ibrahim's going to plot against us, going to plot against our idols. No. So he carried on. So he came to a time where they went out. Okay. And then when they went out, they came to him and said, Ibrahim, come with us. He said, no, I am sick. Now, there's so many points, right? And this is the reason why you can't do it in one session. You have to keep like talking. Ibrahim has told 3 fibs. I won't call them lies because prophets, and you need to understand, they don't lie. 3 fibs. So one of them was, he said, I am sick. Like for example, he said to him, come with you, he said, I am sick. So what he meant by sick was that he's sick of what they are doing. He's sick to his stomach, as we say. Right? So they said, okay, no problem, Ibrahim, that's fine, you go. But bear in mind, his dad's got the warehouse. So now he's on a mission. Right? So Ibrahim, they've gone out, he's by himself, he's gone, right, they've gone, I'm going to go to this warehouse. Me and them, let's see who wins today. So he walks in, yeah, no door knock, no need, no statues. Opens the door, walks in, and then he looks at him. Right? So then he advances forward to, as Allah said in the Quran, and he advances forward to their gods and says, will you not eat your offering? So they put offerings there around. He said, will you not eat it? And then no reply. So he's looking at it, he's gone. Then he says, he goes, what is wrong with you? Can you not speak? You got a big mouth, but why is no words coming out? Like, why are you not talking? Yeah. So he's asking rhetorical questions, right? Just like, you guys, like, in his head, imagine this to somebody like Ibrahim, he's looking at this going, they believe in you and you offer nothing. I'm bringing someone, Allah, that offers more than what you offer, and they're not believing in him. So in his head, it's not making sense. SubhanAllah, to us, we're probably, yeah, but to his head, like, there's so much yaqeen in Allah that none of this makes sense to him, right? So then, he strikes one of them with his right hand, right? And then he destroys them, right? But smart, he leaves the one with the biggest ears. The one with his biggest ears, and then he had an axe. So he hangs the axe on the one that has the biggest ears. So he hangs it and he leaves it. He said, all right, yeah, it's your day today. Let's see how you handle this one. Yeah. So he said, okay. So then they came. They said, right, who's done this? Da, 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 da. And look at the way the people did not want to associate themselves with Ibrahim. So they said, we heard a young man. قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكر. Sorry. We heard a young man called Ibrahim. Now look at this one, right? They didn't say, oh, it was Ibrahim. We heard a young man called Ibrahim. So nobody associated himself. Because if somebody associated themselves with Ibrahim, then they will have to come forward. Everybody was like, hey, some guy, we heard he was called Ibrahim. They all know he's called Ibrahim, right? Because he's been going toe to toe with them for a very long time. They said we heard he's called Ibrahim, right? That did this. Said, okay, that's no problem. So they said, bring him forward. In front of the eyes of the people, let everyone witness this conversation. This guy, Ibrahim, kind of pushed his limit, bring him. But it's very intellectual because they were scared. They knew that they won't be able to handle it. So they said to him, said, Ibrahim, did you do this? He goes, no. He goes, the biggest one out of them all, you see that one with the big ears? Yeah, he's got axe on his ears, hasn't he? Yeah, he's done it, you know. Ask him. He's your God, ask him. So everyone's looking at him like going, I don't know, they can't talk really, let's be honest. Why are you telling us to ask a statue? You go, no, ask him. They're your gods. Like, ask him. Like, that's the conversation. Like, now they're feeling very little and like, you know, the best way to look at it, they're feeling very stupid. They're looking at the whole situation going, right? They're not really, yeah. So then they started coming, you know, when you feel humiliated and you started coming back to your senses, like, you know what? Yeah, he's right, yeah. But they were still stubborn. They still thought about money. Like, money was the root of all evils, they say. But money was the reason, so they've said around and said, no. We're not listening to him. Why? Because tomorrow I'm going to end up being broke. Yeah. So they quickly regressed and then all started talking about it. And then they go, listen, we know you did it. We know these idols can't talk. You know these idols can't talk, right? But we know you did it. Okay? So then they came together. They thought, how are we going to get rid of this person? It's causing us too much commotion. People are starting to believe in him. And that's where the problem was for them. That, oh my God, people are going to start believing him. So they said, I know. So one of the guys turned around and said, I know, let's burn him. Let everyone see him get burned. So then, we'll set him as an example to other people. Right? So, let's burn him. They said, okay, so they bought fire together. It was said the fire was so big, people couldn't go anywhere near it. So they had to bring that, you know, that thing, what's it called? A catapult. Catapult, sorry. I keep thinking caterpillar, I don't know why, right? Catapult. So they put him in it, right? And they flung him, right? There's a dua that Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is enough for me and He is the best disposer of affairs. That was his dua. So then Allah said to the fire, what did Allah say to the fire? Ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Now there's so much hikmah in this verse itself. Because if Allah said, Ya naru kuni bardan ala Ibrahim, the fire would have been so cold that he could have froze. Imagine that. The fire would be, because there's parts of hell which is cold. We think hell is just fire. It's not. There's part which is frozen. You go in there, you're coming out as an ice. Yeah, and that's one of Allah's punishments. But everyone talks about the fire, but there's a cold part to it. So if Allah said, Ya naru kuni bardan, it would have froze. But He said, bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Like salam, like stay warm for him, like just be peaceful for him. Salam, yeah. And then he entered. And here's another thing, because he was wrapped in like ropes, because the order wasn't it's kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim and not the ropes. The fire burnt the ropes because the command wasn't for the ropes. Subhanallah. So as he was coming down, Allah's made it an easy step for him to come into the fire. Subhanallah. And it said that after years later, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when they asked him about his life, he said, the best moment that I had in my life was when I got thrown in that fire. It is the most peaceful time. Because think about it, it's hukm from Allah. That moment has to be like make it peaceful for Ibrahim. So give me another time, Allah. Give me time in his life, but Allah's made a moment as peaceful as that moment for him. So he felt the peace then. And then he come out. Imagine this. Imagine that. And then people looking at him going, oh my, how did we get rid of this guy? We threw him in the fire. He's telling me this big ears needs to talk. And there's one person in that crowd that turned around and said, I believe in you. I'm ready to go with you. Was his nephew, Lot alayhi salam. That is his, by the way, through all of this, Lot was his first follower. Lot alayhi salam was his first follower. Which is crazy because there was points where people were going to start following him. So Allah said, and then he walked out and then first follower. So Allah says in the Quran, so Lot believed in him. Then he said to his people, then he said to Lot, he said, listen, I'm going to emigrate now. Like for Allah's sake. No, what people don't, hijrah. That's probably one of the first signs of hijrah. Right? He left for the sake of Allah, for obedience of Allah. Because his people, he couldn't do it. Like there was too much. So Allah said to him, no problem, let's go. Right? I'll send you. One thing you need to understand about Ibrahim alayhi salam was he was from Babylon, but he was all the way across Sham, and he went all the way down to Mecca where he built the Kaaba. So in that region, he had such a huge impact So he travelled all over. So his next step, from what I remember, is he went to Haran. Right? So before that, Allah says in the Quran, and Ibrahim said to Allah, "Oh my Lord, show me how you give life to the dead. Arini kayfa tuhyi al-mawta." Allah said to him, "Do you not believe?" He said, "Bala." He goes, "I do, but just so my heart can be reassured." He didn't. Now, a lot of people turn around and say, "Oh, he doubted." It wasn't doubt. How can he doubt when you just come out of fire with nothing burning? Do you understand? So a lot of people say, "Oh no, he didn't." He just wanted reassurance. You know, sometimes we just want that little buzz. Like, yes, you know, I just want to see it again. Yeah, I want to just reassurance. Allah show me, because through time he knew that Allah can resurrect. Allah said to him, "Resurrect." He goes, "Yeah, show me. I'm excited. Let show me how you resurrect." So Allah said, "No problem." He said, "Do you doubt? You know, what's up?" He goes, "No, I just want reassurance." So Allah said, "No problem. I'll do that for you." Yeah, you know, we've gone through all of this way. No problem. You want that? He goes, "No problem." He goes, "Bring 4 birds and train them to come to you." He said, "Okay." He said, "Then cut them into pieces and then scatter them on different hilltops and then call them. And they will fly. They will come back to life and they'll fly to you. And that moment you will know that Allah Almighty and is all wise." And he did it. He bought them. He put it there. And they came to him. And now imagine his iman now. That's it. He was like, "You know what? I'm ready for everything." So then he said, "All right, I'm ready to migrate, let's go." So then him and Lot went. And they went to an area in Haran, which is in the Middle East. So there was a king in that area called Nimrud. Yeah, this is the second journey of Ibrahim. There's like 5 parts of his journey. So there's a king then called Nimrud. Now when Nimrud heard about an individual that got dropped in fire and survived, yeah, it was like, yo, bring this guy to me. Yeah, I'm a king, let's go. And look at the arrogance that he comes with. And look at how Ibrahim alayhi salam, yeah, topples him. Basically, this is actually a very good story. Yeah. So Allah says, so he said to him, "Oh Prophet, Allah says, are you not aware that the one who argued with Ibrahim about his Lord, because Allah has granted him kingship?" He goes, "Remember when Ibrahim said, 'My Lord is the one who has power to give life and cause death.'" So what did the Nimrud say back to him? He said, "Well, your Lord can give life and cause death." He goes, "So can I?" Said arrogance. We get this today. It's like, no, but it's not kind of your life and death. Yeah, this is different. But look how he stooped so low to give someone life and give someone death. He said, okay. I too. He goes, "I've got the power to give life and death. Who do you think you are?" Basically. He said, so the Nimrud went and bought 2 prisoners. He goes, "These 2, they're dying. Yeah, their sentence is soon." He goes, "That one, I free him. I gave him life." He goes, "This one," he goes, "Kill him. There I cause death." Yeah, so Ibrahim looked at this whole situation and said, "Oh, like there's no point." He goes, "You know what? I'll do something better." He goes, if that's how low you're gonna stoop, yeah, subhanAllah, he goes, "I'll do something better than that. Are you ready for it?" He goes, "Yeah, go on, bring me." He goes, "Go on." He goes, "Challenge accepted. How can you do better? I just gave life and I gave death." Yeah, it's so funny. It's something my soul would do. Like everyone will do this way, will do this way. They think they're smart, right? But Ibrahim was so eloquent with his word. He said, "Okay." He said, "Oh Allah." Then he asked Allah. He goes, "Allah caused the sun to rise from the east, so he made it rise from the west." So that's what he did. So now he's looked at it, he said, "I can't do that." So that I can't do. I can't bring the sun to come out from the other side. So at that moment, buhita alladhina kafaru. The disbelievers were gobsmacked, like, wow, this is, we've never seen anything like this before. Right? But they still weren't guided, because Allah doesn't guide. Inna Allah yahdi man yasha. Yeah, so one thing we need to understand is when it comes to hidayah, the hidayah comes from Allah for those that want it. If people that don't want it, then how are they gonna find hidayah if they don't want it, because they're just gonna reject it. Does that make sense? So in order for hidayah, you need to want it. That's one of the rules. But anyway, so Ibrahim left. He felt threatened. Yeah, and he said, "All right." He brought his wife Sarah. Then he had his wife Sarah, and he said, "Right, Sarah and Lot, what we're gonna do? We're gonna go towards Palestine." Right. So they went towards Palestine, and they got to Palestine, and they found these people that worshipped stars. There we go. See that? Like, there's so many different ones. Like this is another story for Ibrahim. This is like story number 3. They're worshipping stars. Right. He's looked at him and said, "Oh my God, no. First statues, this guy thought he can bring life and death, and these guys worshipping stars." There's so many different scenarios, and this is all a lesson for us. We get it today, yeah? When people worship stars, oh, there's a shooting star, let's go, I'm going to start making a wish. Or there's a new star today, you know, star signs come out there, and this is a lesson for us that we need to avoid things like that in reality. You know, it is quite a big topic, but I'm not the one to talk about. Like I said, I'm not a Sheikh Island, but all I know is fortune telling and star signs and stuff like that are a form of shirk. So, you know, we need to avoid it. Anyway, so the worship of stars. So then he got involved. He said, "All right, this is interesting. Let's get involved." Yeah. So now you realise that Ibrahim, the way he interacts with people, is very. It's now starting to be very intellectual, right? So. One thing that Allah did say in the process is He showed Ibrahim the wonders of the heaven and the earth, so he'd be showing faith. So now we were talking about the stars and the planets and so on, right? He's already seen beyond it. So when you talk about the moon, it's like, oh, wait till you see the one that's 1,000 years away. You know what I mean? He's seen beyond it. He's seen. You know what? Sometimes when you eat some food, but you're like, nah, I've had it better over there. So this food doesn't matter. Like when you have a Miami's burger and you know it's banging, yeah, but then someone brings some dead burger, you're like, no, listen, I want the Miami's better. Do you get what I mean? Like when you've had better, when you've seen better, nothing ever matters unless if you find something better than that, and that's how human nature is. So then he showed, you know, the heaven. So then it came to a time it got dark. So this is in Palestine, by the way, right? So then he saw a star, yeah. According to the scholars, this is Venus. It's modern day. This is Venus today. He said, Hada Rabbi. He said, guys, I found my Lord. There he is, right? But when it sets, it said, but the moment he said, I found my Lord, the people said, oh, yes, he's one of us. Yes, we got him. Yes, he's going to join us. We've got more people. Because it's all about recruitment then, because it's the start of civilization. So we seen Venus, he said, yeah. He goes, that's my Lord. Then the people went, yes. Yeah. Then when it set, he goes, I don't like things that go away. Like, a God should be there at all times. So one sec, so he's gone. Like, where is my God? So he's asking his people, and his people scratching their head going, you know, he's got a point. Yeah? But then, he saw the moon. He said, oh, see the moon there? The moon's nice. It's bright, you know, it's bringing all that no, it's bringing that, you know, it's beautiful. Yeah? But when it disappeared, he goes, it disappeared. He goes, where's my God? And then one thing he said in front of the people, he goes, if my Lord does not guide me, I will certainly be the one of misguided people. So this is subliminal for the people around who are listening. They're like, yeah, we need guidance because this moon doesn't make sense to us now. So now it's now they're arguing with themselves. You get what I mean? Like, he's turned around and he said, if my Lord doesn't guide me, then I'm going to be lost. Now the people around him are God, he's one of us and he feels like he's lost, so we're lost. So it's like an effect, psychological game that he's playing. Then we saw the moon, the sun's a lot bigger. Massive, it looks nice, you know, the horizon and all of this. Yeah? He goes, that is my God. Nice. Everyone's gone, yeah, we agree with you, yeah, no problem. We're ready for that one. Yeah, he goes, it's massive, it's big, it's the greatest. Yeah. Then when it went down, he goes, my God's gone again. He goes, guys, what are we doing? Right? And then he turned around to the people, he goes, oh people, I totally reject whatever you associate with. He goes, in Allah I worship. So now people are going, oh, I thought you were one of us. Why are you selling us out like that for? Because everything that he's pointed out then is gone. And then that's the reality today. That when we worship Allah, yeah, knowing that he's there all the time. There's not a certain time, because if you worship the moon, he's got to wait another 12 hours or 24 hours, how many hours ever out? Yeah, 24 hours, unless if you see the moon during the day. If we worship the sun, he's got to wait another 24 hours for him to make dua and say, oh, you know, so on and so forth. And let's be honest, the moon's not going to bring someone back to life. The moon just about radiates light from the sun. Oh, God knows, I'm not a scientist, but anyway, yeah. And then he said to the people, he said, listen, I turn my face towards the one who originated the heavens and the earth, being upright. I'm the one. I am not the one of polytheists, basically. He said, وَجَهْتُ وَجْهِيَ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So I'm to God, that's it. Now, I need you guys to understand, there's a much superpower than these moons and those stars and the thing that you worship. There's superpower that created them, for them to be how they are. And the people arguing with them. They're like, whoa, 1 second. You're taking, go that way, yeah? You're taking a whole turn on me. I thought you were like the moon. I feel like the stars. And we see that today, you know, people worship moons or worship the stars and the blue moon, and, you know, they worship things that I don't know what they worship, and the wolves come out at a certain time of the moon, and, Twilights and everything. To me, it all does not make sense. Why? Because where does all this actually come from, and where does it lead to? You can watch Twilight, okay, it's fine. I'm not saying the actual film. Yeah, the film's alright. Yeah, but do you see how I'm coming from that? They believe in aqdar and things that are beyond reality, but they bring it to life, and it's like, we need to come, because our kids think we might think it's like something like, I want to bring that up actually. It's like this stuff we might look at and think, you know what? Yeah, no, it's not true. But there'll come a generation that will think it's true. There'll come a generation that will make something from it, and we've seen this. And I'll tell you something. In 33 years of my life, I've seen so much. Right? When I was younger, a lot of things we used to say, this is bad. Today it's okay. And the ones that are in the 30s today will tell you the same thing. Yes. There's certain things that guys used to do or people used to be like, oh my God, that is so bad, that is so hard. Today it's normal. So we need to always remember, we need to avoid these type of things, because the next generation, if we make it normal, it's going to be normal. So then he like I said, he turned his face and then they started arguing with him. Don't start arguing. Ibrahim alayhi salam loved the debate. There's nobody that loved the debate as much as Ibrahim alayhi salam. He loved the debate. Okay? And he said, listen, why am I going to leave my Lord? He guided me, and you guys still looking for your stars. Basically. Find your stars and then we'll talk. Your stars come and go and so on, right? And then he said, my Lord, no one can harm me when I forgot my Lord next to me. Okay? No one can harm me unless my Lord wills. He encompasses everything, his knowledge, and would you guys not think about it? You can try to harm me, try saying what you want to say, yeah, but everything happens for the sake of Allah. And that's the truth, that's the reality, and that's another lesson we need to learn. And he also says, he goes, how should I fear your gods while you have no fear in associating? How can I fear your gods, and how can I fear everything when the one that created all of us is trying to guide you through me today? And so on. So we carried on. So the argument, carried on. And I guess a lot of these areas that I've got here, they're just arguing, saying, where are we coming to? And then he just gave up and he said, listen guys, I'm gone. Because they threatened him. There's another nation. They said to Ibrahim, listen, we're going to kill you. If you don't stop now, we're going to kill you. So he said, okay, no problem. Got his bags and his packs and he started going. And he got off from them. And the thing is, just by these 3 stories, and that's it for today by doing stories, almost so much stories. Yeah, the next one is when he builds the Kaaba, yeah, and Maqam Ibrahim and so on. But the thing is with Ibrahim alayhi salam, like I said, there's 2 stages. The first stage is him, telling you, for you to understand his yaqeen and his belief in Allah. And then everything else comes. And also with Ibrahim, with a lot of things that happens with him, is he gets tested and tested and tested and tested, and he remains firm. He remains steadfast on his path. And with us as humans as well, and one lesson that we should take from it is, yaqeen is key. Whatever you get tested with in life, whatever you go through in life, just know, right? It's a test, not for you, but it's a test for your heart. Your heart's being tested. The closer you try to get to Allah, and the closer you try to get to the deen, Allah tests your faith. And the outcome of it is not anything but more love and closer, and Allah bringing you closer to Him. And that's how, that's another way of purifying the heart. Is we do get tested, we get tested in our money, we get tested in our sustenances, we get tested in our properties, kids, family, whatever it might be. And at the end of it, one thing we don't want to do is not be grateful for the life. The fact that you're waking up tomorrow and you're breathing, Allah has given you a chance. The fact that you're here tomorrow, Allah has given you a chance to rectify the mistake that you've done today, last week, last year, and to rectify future mistakes that you're gonna do. And that's the reason why. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is another example that we take from in terms of full belief and full yaqeen in Allah and the trust in Allah. And أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. And I hope to see you guys at the next one, inshallah, where we finish off the story of Ibrahim. And I can't wait. Jazakallah khair. What's this before it breaks? Oh, I don't think I've sat that long in my life. Oh.